My role really is looking at the policies of John Muir Trust, seeing how we can achieve our main aims to get people to protect wild land and enhance it, and also to value wild places. And so we look at policies both within what we do on our own land. The John Muir Trust owns quite a number of properties, about 24,000 hectares, and we want to manage them to improve the wildland characteristics there, manage it to improve biodiversity, but also as exemplars to others, to encourage others. And that's one aspect of what we do. The aspect which I'm particularly concerned with is taking policy to a strategic level and going to talk to policymakers, government officials, politicians and others working in the same area to say, how can we protect our wildland? We're very concerned at the moment. The rate of attrition of wildland is huge. There's a statistic from Scottish Natural Heritage suggesting that we've maybe lost a quarter of our natural landscapes over 6 years. And although that's a rough and ready measurement and perhaps can be argued with, the scale of that attrition really must be something that makes people sit up and take notice. And that's what we're trying to do. So we're launching a wildland campaign to try and get that message out there, and also get the public to make politicians sit up and take notice and realise that they value it. I think we live in a world that increasingly people are totally disconnected with the natural world of which they should be part. And although they may not realise that they have a deficit, I think there is a lot of evidence that shows that is the case for nearly everyone. It's not just a small sector of society that really could benefit from getting out there into the natural environment and into wild land. There's maybe a small sector at the moment that recognises that value because they've been lucky enough to experience it, or sometimes they've just seen pictures of it and heard others talk about it and really want to go. Taking myself for instance, on an extreme global level, I really want to go to Alaska, though I've never been there because of what I've heard. But you've got to look at the small scale, and in our own country there are many people who have not been outside in urban and suburban areas. So they might not recognise that there's a deficit there. They think what the life they live, that's what everybody does. But there's a lot of evidence which shows that actually that means that they're increasingly disconnected from where they came from. People often say that landscape as such is not really that important. It's maybe not as important as we've recognised individual species are under threat and there's protection for them. But when we talk about landscape and the importance of protecting some landscapes, some highly valued landscapes, it's often suggested that that's a human impression, and really it doesn't matter. And I would say that that's not really the evidence. If you look at the thousands and thousands of people who've objected to a number of major projects that have come forward, particularly in Scotland, things like power lines, Bully Power Line, and some major wind farms and some really iconic wild landscapes. And thousands of people have objected to them. Many of them don't live in the area. It's not NIMBYism, and nearly all of them, 90% of them, will have mentioned the importance of the landscape to them. So I think people have to understand that we do have that connection within us, and that helps people make that connection to those other things like species.